Hello everyone, my name is Kesfem, welcoming you to another interesting series in UTME Economics Past Questions Review. Today our focus will be on 2019, specifically we'll be reviewing questions 26 to 50. Before you continue watching this video, I want you to like the video, comment, subscribe and share. Question 1. A form of tax that is mildly or mildly progressive and regressive is a digressive tax system. A digressive tax system is in between progressive and regressive. For progressive tax, the higher the income, the higher the tax rate. For regressive tax system, the higher the income, the lower the tax rate. Proportional, the tax rate is the same no matter the level of income. But for digressive, it is mildly progressive at some point and later regressive, as you can see in this diagram here. A correct answer is option D. Question 27. We have industrialization is the process of transforming an economy that is based on extractive to manufacturing. For a country to experience industrialization, the country has to move from just extracting the raw materials, the mineral resources from the surface of the earth to converting the raw materials to finished products and distributing them in order to satisfy consumers' want. That's when industrialization will take place. For example, the raw material for producing bread, we have multipurpose flour. To produce bread, there are other ingredients that will be added apart from multipurpose flour. We have butter, sugar, yeast, and some other items. So if a country is to become industrialized, the country has to move from just extracting the raw materials for making flour to actually manufacturing bread and distributing the bread to satisfy consumers' want. Number 28. One of these is not a way by which government encourage industrialization. Protecting infant industries to grow, of course, we encourage industrialization. That's infant industries, they are newly established industries. Establishing Nigerian Enterprise Promotion Decree, that we encourage that. Low productivity and inefficiency is we completely discourage industrialization when you are getting low output from the input and the input, that's either capital or labor, is not efficient. That will discourage industrialization. Option D will also encourage industrialization. So our answer is option C. Let's proceed to question 29. The sector which contributes highly to the economy is a tertiary sector. The tertiary sector contributes to the economy because it consists of majorly the service sector. In primary sector, it deals with extracting raw materials. In secondary sector, the raw materials are converted into finished products, while in tertiary sector, the finished products are distributed in order to satisfy consumers' want. Under the tertiary sector, we have banking, communication, insurance, warehouse, and tourism, and others. So the major sector that contributes highly to the economy and that determines whether a country's economy is growing or developing is the tertiary sector. Number 30. A permit that allows an importer to bring a certain quantity of foreign goods into a country is import license. Remember, in foreign trade, there is import, export, and entry port. Import has to do with bringing goods from another country. So if as an importer in country A, you want to bring in some products from country B, you need to get import license to be able to import your product to country A. Without that, it will be difficult to import foreign goods into that country. Number 31. The land that belongs to the community is referred to as a communal land. Option C, as you can see in this picture, this this a pictorial illustration of the land that belongs to the community. Number 32. Among the disadvantages of one-man business is a fact that the proprietor, that's the owner, is personally liable for the firm's debts. In one-man business, there is what is called unlimited liability. That is, in case of any risk or financial trouble, what the owner of the business will lose is not limited to the capital only. The owner of the business will lose his capital, and some of his personal money will also go in for the firm's debt. So that's option B, which is a major disadvantage of one-man business. Question 33. The most reliable and acceptable index of economic growth is the national income. The national income is a proxy for economic growth. It measures the total monetary value of goods and services produced in a country over a period of 1 year. So if you want to check if a country's economy is growing or not, just check the national income figure, and from there you can determine whether the country is experiencing economic growth or is not experiencing economic growth. Number 34. The release of liquid petroleum hydrocarbon into the environment is referred to as oil spill, which some people call oil spillage. In the process of refining crude oil, that's separating crude oil, from which you get natural gas, you get diesel, you get petrol, you get kerosene. There is what happens, there is oil spillage. For oil glut, that's when there is the supply, the quantity supplied of of the oil all over the world is more than the consumers' demand for crude oil. While for oil shock, that's when there is a spike, an unexpected spike in the price of oil globally. So our correct answer is option B, which is oil spillage. Question 35. That's on ECOWAS. ECOWAS was formed for the purpose of promoting cooperation and integration. That's in the West African sub-region. That's the main purpose of establishing ECOWAS. Number 36. Economics is a social science concerned with the proper use and allocation of resources for growth. Remember, the foundation for economics: human wants are unlimited while resources are scarce. So economics studies how the scarce resources can be used to satisfy human unlimited wants. And that's the major reason why economics is a social science. Let's proceed to question 37. The determination of price by bargaining between buyers and sellers is ingling and angling. In angling and angling, there is a negotiation between buyers and sellers. The seller tells the buyer, this is the price, I want to sell it. The buyer, in response, negotiates, and from there negotiation starts. Sometimes it can lead to argument, sometimes it can be a calm negotiation where their voices will not be heard by people around. But basically, when there is a bargain between buyers and seller to determine the price of a product, that's ingly and ugly. That's option C. Number 38. An economic system that uses what is regarded as the market mechanism is called capitalist economy. You can also call capitalist economy market economy or free market economy. In and using the market mechanism to determine the price, that's where you talk about the invisible forces of demand and supply that determine the price of a product, and the meeting point of quantity demanded and quantity supplied is equilibrium. The price at which both of them are equal is equilibrium price. So at that point, the sellers cannot cheat the buyers and the buyers cannot cheat the sellers. That's at the point where the price is determined. Number 39. The last link in the chain of channel of distribution is the consumer. In the channel of distribution, the producer is the first. The goods move from the producer to the wholesaler, from the wholesaler to the retailer, and from retailer it goes to the final consumer. And remember, until goods get to the final consumer, production process is not complete. So that's another reason why the consumer is very important in the channel of distribution. Number 40. John, an apprentice, engineer, and amateur trumpet player, was earning 30 naira per week before accepting full-time employment in a top orchestra, for which he now receives 150 naira per week. 120 naira of his weekly earnings can be described as economic rent. Let's see the breakdown here. Now to get that, his transfer earnings is 30 naira. That's what he was receiving before in the previous job. And we have his current earnings, that's 150 naira. Now 150 minus 20 minus 30 will give us 120. That's his economic rent. And that means the 120 naira is higher than what he was getting per week before accepting the full-time job. So our answer is option D, being economic rent. Marginal physical productivity, that is the extra output that labor can produce. Then we have marginal income productivity, that is the extra income that labor receives by working extra hours. Consumer surplus is the difference between the price the consumer intends to pay for a product and the actual price he pays. So economic rent captures the difference between the current and the previous earnings. Number 41. Effective demand for a product is desire for that commodity backed by ability and willingness to pay. Demand is not effective until it is backed up by ability and willingness to pay. Demand is like mere desire. For example, a student that desires to get iPhone 17 Pro Max, that's good. Now, the demand for the iPhone 17 Pro Max will not become effective until the student goes to where they sell the phone, makes payment, and then get the phone. If there is no ability and willingness to pay, at that point in time, the demand or desire for iPhone 17 Pro Max is still demand. It is not yet effective. So it becomes effective when the student takes a step further by going to where the phone is sold and buying it. So our answer is option B. Number 42. A commodity is defined as normal when its demand changes in the same direction as income. That's if income increases, the quantity demanded for the commodity also increases. That's a normal demand. If it's the otherwise, it's an abnormal demand. Now we have this question: which of the following matters may account for changes in demand? As you can see in this graph, in change in demand, the price is constant. The price is constant, and change in demand could be increase in demand like we have here or decrease in demand. The price is constant, but there are other factors that affect demand that are changing. So the first factor here, we have change in consumer preference, change in real income, change in distribution of income, changes in the level of taxation. So our correct answer is option D. These four factors are responsible for change in demand, because in change in demand, the price is constant, and change in price is not part of the factors listed here. So option D is the correct answer. Number 44. An example of a market which approaches fairly near to perfection is a foreign exchange market. The foreign exchange market has similar attributes with a perfect market. In a perfect market, we have a large number of buyers and sellers. The same is applicable in a foreign exchange market. In a perfect market, there is perfect knowledge of the market. The same thing is applicable in foreign exchange market. You know what is happening, and the products are identical. So this foreign exchange market is fairly near to perfection. Our correct answer is option D. Number 45. When a monopolist is to increase his revenue by restricting his output, whether a monopolist is to increase his revenue by restricting his output depends on the shape of the demand curve. That's the shape of the demand curve, whether it's elastic or inelastic. Remember, a monopolist is a single seller of a commodity. So for him to increase revenue, that would depend on the shape of the demand curve. If it is elastic, he can increase the price in order to increase revenue. But if it is inelastic, he has to reduce, he cannot increase the price, because that will not bring about an increase in his revenue. And remember, to get total revenue, that's price multiplied by quantity demanded. So quantity demanded is a major factor in determining the total revenue of a monopolist. Question 46. An example of a vertical combination is the merger of a spinning firm and weaving firm. That's option A. Weaving firm. Now, for a spinning firm, they have to produce the yarn that will end, and for the other firm, that's a weaving firm, the weaving firm will use the yarn to produce clothes. So for a vertical combination of the merger, that's where two different firms at different stages of production merge together. That's option A. Question 47. Which of the following matters may account for changes in supply? In change in supply, the price is also constant, while other factors that affect quantity supply are subject to change. They change. So all these four factors listed here: technological advances, changes in labor costs, changes in source of supply, changes in level of taxation, they all account for change in supply, which could be increase in supply or decrease in supply. So our answer is option D. Question 48. A supply curve slopes from left upward from left to right, indicating that there is a positive slope. That means the price and the quantity supplied are moving in the same direction. If the price increases, the quantity supplied increases. If the price decreases, the quantity supplied also decreases. So that's the law of supply. Question 49. We have: use the following information given to answer the question. We have the expenditure incurred during a year, indirect tax, capital consumption. Let's see the breakdown. To calculate the national income at factor cost, we have to use this formula: total expenditure minus indirect tax minus capital consumption. Capital consumption is also known as depreciation. So we have our total expenditure is, that's 80, national income 80,000, that's our national income is 80,000 minus 8,000 minus 6. 80 minus 8 is 72. 72 minus 6 will give us 66. So our final answer is option B. Our correct option is option B. Now to the last question for today. Use the information given to answer this question. Total of all expenditure incurred during the year. We have indirect tax, we have capital consumption. So we have to calculate the gross national expenditure at factor cost. So the formula will be total expenditure minus indirect tax. Now take note, we are not going to include depreciation because it is gross. We are calculating gross national expenditure, not net. Had it been we are to calculate net national expenditure, we would have included capital consumption in our calculation. We have total expenditure will be 80 minus 8, and that will give us 72. So our correct answer is option D. With this, we have come to the end of UTME 2019 review, Economics Review question 26 to 50. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your support. Once again, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share the video with others. Once again, I am Kesfe. See you next time.